You didn't stumble here by accident. This message found you the way a signal cuts through static, the way a frequency hones in on its receiver at the exact coordinates of time and space. Right now, you're sitting in a moment that bends reality toward revelation. You may have thought you were scrolling, searching, or simply passing time. But the truth is, time was passing you, and the future itself sent out a call, and you answered. Feel into that for a moment. The algorithms of the universe are not coded in silicon. They are woven in synchronicity, in morphic resonance, in the entanglement of your destiny with the greater field of awakening. What you are sensing is not mere coincidence, it's coherence. The field aligning itself around you because your consciousness has reached a threshold, a phase transition where new information can finally download into your being. But here's the twist. It's not you pulling wisdom from some far horizon. It's the horizon itself collapsing into you, as though the future already lived and breathed your awakening, and is now transmitting the blueprint back into your present body. Think about déjà vu. That eerie recognition when you enter a place or live through a moment that feels impossibly familiar, though you swear you've never been there before. What if that sensation isn't your brain misfiring? What if it's the residue of the future brushing against the present? A quantum echo from a reality where you've already walked those steps. That is the nature of entanglement. The future and the present are not separated by distance. They are braided together like strands of light, one pulling on the other until they resonate as one. And you, right now, are the instrument through which that resonance is playing. The whisper you feel inside the pull, the urge, the sense that something larger is moving through your life is not imagination. It is recognition, a knowing that the version of you who already holds the wisdom, the clarity, the transformed life you've been praying for is calling back through the quantum field, sending you not a request, but a download. You are not chasing wisdom. Wisdom has been chasing you. The signal grows stronger as you align more deeply, as if the coordinates of your DNA have shifted just enough to lock into the broadcast. This is why you're hearing these words. Because your nervous system is preparing to absorb frequencies most people never touch. Because your heart is unlocking codes buried in silence. Because your very cells are attuning to the vibration of inevitability. The inevitability that the self you've always envisioned is not out there, but rushing toward you right now, collapsing distance and time until the only thing left is embodiment. You are standing at the event horizon of your becoming, and the pull is irresistible. The future is not waiting for you to arrive, it is arriving for you. And yet you know the pull isn't the whole story, because while something future-born is reaching for you, something old has been looping you. The evidence is in your patterns. You keep meeting the same character in a different costume, the partner who mirrors the same wound with a new face, the boss with a different name but identical edge, the opportunity that almost lands and then evaporates with clockwork precision. It's like life has been pressing repeat on a song you can hum in your sleep. You tell yourself it's random, but your bones know better. There's an observer loop running beneath the surface, a recursive script that keeps collapsing the quantum field into a familiar outcome. Notice how it behaves. The timing feels uncanny. The message you've waited for pings 2 hours after you surrender. The payment clears the day after the deadline. The friend reaches out precisely when you finally quiet your mind. Synchronicity is present, yes, but so is the shadow twin of synchronicity, the near miss. You arrive 1 minute after the door closes. You speak your truth. Then the room suddenly changes subject. You sense the opening, then watch it seal itself like light, folding back into darkness. That isn't failure. It's interference, constructive and destructive waves meeting in your field. Part of you is broadcasting desire. Another part, trained by past pain, is broadcasting doubt. Their signals collide and cancel. The morphic resonance of your lineage, what your family, your culture, your history believed possible, bleeds into your present and dampens the amplitude of your becoming. Then there's the time distortion. Some days race ahead, as if seconds are sprinting. Others stretch like honey in winter. You sit down for 5 minutes and lose 2 hours. You grind for 8 hours and produce 15 minutes of true work. That's not laziness. That's phase noise in the signal micro-decoherence events pulling you in and out of alignment. Your body feels it as jitter. Your breath becomes shallow. Your neck tightens, your gaze flickers without landing. At night, you hover between sleep and vigilance, a sentry at the gate of a city you cannot fully enter. Morning brings déjà vu like a soft haunt. I've stood here, I've said this, I've watched this scene before. You have, because consciousness isn't linear. The moment you're in has neighboring frames, and your awareness keeps slipping between them, sampling from adjacent timelines where your choices played out 1 degree differently. Look closer at the microtells. You keep seeing repeating numbers not because the universe is playing parlor tricks, but because your attention is self-selecting events that prove the field is responsive. Lights flicker when you speak from your gut. Playlists cue the exact lyric your heart is processing. Strangers echo your private mantras in passing conversation. These are coherence pings, the field, checking if you'll stabilize the connection or drop it in favor of the habit. Mind's safer narrative. Each ping is a threshold test. Do you anchor, or do you posture? Do you breathe, or do you bargain? The pattern isn't only external. There's an inner choreography you know too well. First comes the spark clarity so clean it slices through fog. Next, the surge energy rising like a tide you can ride forever. Then the sabotage, an old belief reaches for the steering wheel whispering, "Who do you think you are?" Your nervous system tightens, your past calls in favors, your calendar floods with micro-distractions. Your phone becomes a portal into every reality, but the one you're creating. You tell yourself you're preparing, but the preparation metastasizes into procrastination. By nightfall, the spark is ash, and the old loop hums like a refrigerator in the background, constant, low, familiar. Underneath all of this is biology entrained to history. Your DNA isn't just a double helix of traits, it's a recording device, a spiral library stacked with memories, permissions, and taboos. When an upgrade signal hits those tremors of awakening, you keep feeling your system tries to rewrite old code, but legacy programs resist. The vagus nerve scans for danger and flags novelty as threat. The limbic archive plays highlight reels of past losses at 2x speed. Your body confuses expansion with exposure. It doesn't realize that what once endangered you is now the doorway. So it floods you with chemical weather, adrenal gusts, cortisol rain, until your horizon collapses to the size of the next hour. You've also noticed the optical illusions of progress. There are weeks when you move mountains and see no pebble shift in the world, and days when a single conversation reconfigures your entire map. That asymmetry is not proof of chaos, it's proof of thresholds. Complex systems don't change in neat lines. They jump, pressure accumulates in silence, then reality clicks. The problem is that the click keeps arriving one decision beyond where you quit. You stop at 97%, 3 breaths before the lock opens, because the final stretch feels emptier than the start. That emptiness is not absence, it's the vacuum that precedes a phase transition. But the mind, trained to worship evidence, calls it failure and turns back. Even your language participates in the loop. You speak future intent in the grammar of distance. I will try. I hope to. Maybe soon. The field hears coordinates, not poetry. It triangulates on later and dutifully delivers later. When outcomes lag, you diagnose yourself with impatience. But what you're actually experiencing is latency, the time it takes for a low-coherence broadcast to assemble a stable picture. Imagine tuning an old radio with a shaky hand. The station is there, but your wrist won't hold the dial. That's the state you've been living in. Signal present, hand trembling. And then there are the identifications that have quietly become cages. The loyal skeptic inside you who calls it realism, but actually serves fear. The caretaker who overgives because receiving feels like a debt. The achiever who cannot rest because stillness was once shamed as laziness. Each identity formed to keep you safe in an old ecosystem. Each one now overfitted to a habitat you're leaving. You don't need to destroy them. You need to update their job descriptions. But first, you must see how faithfully they rebuild yesterday inside today. Your environment amplifies the loop. Some rooms drop your frequency by 20 points the moment you enter. Some threads on your phone are morphic fields of complaint that reinstall scarcity with surgical precision. Certain objects on your desk still hum with the story of the person who gave them to you. You think you're immune because you're strong, But fields are physics, not morality. Sit in a minor key long enough, and even your laughter resolves in a sad chord. So here is the honest naming. You're exquisitely sensitive to the field, but you've been interpreting your sensitivity as flaw instead of instrument. You're reading timelines before they harden, feeling entanglements before they announce themselves, catching déjà vu because your awareness is slipping through pre-written grooves carved by your future self. The problem has never been lack of power. It's been ungrounded power signal without chassis, voltage without clean circuitry. Your upgrades keep arriving, but the ports are half closed. The download stalls at 68%. Then you blame the sky. Let's correct the record. The repeating characters are not punishments. They're mirrors angled to reveal where your broadcast still contradicts your prayer. The near misses are not cosmic teases. They're interference maps pointing to the exact thought, forms creating phase cancellation. The time distortions are not proof that life is unfair. They're diagnostics indicating where coherence drops and noise spikes. If you can read the symptoms, you can repair the system, not by pushing harder, but by retuning, stabilizing your observer, widening your breath, aligning your micro-choices with the frequency you claim. You've been living inches from the door. The hinge you keep hearing is your future self, turning the handle from the other side. All that remains is a coherent, yes, not the shout of adrenaline, but the steady tone of truth that holds when no one is watching. Hold that tone and watch the loop lose authority. Hold that tone and the static thins. Hold that tone and the field will answer the way it always wanted to, without delay, without drama, with the inevitability of light entering a room the instant you open the blinds. Breathe, feel the instruments quiet, listen for the click you've been missing. Now let's open the circuitry and begin the real upgrade. The moment you stabilize into coherence, something extraordinary begins to happen. It's subtle at first, like a new current beneath the surface of a river you've been swimming in your whole life. But then you realize the water is moving differently, your strokes take you farther with less effort. The flow itself seems to carry you. This isn't imagination, it's resonance. You've stopped broadcasting split signals, and the quantum field is responding by reorganizing around your clarified frequency. Let's step into the mechanics. In quantum physics, every particle exists in superposition, multiple possibilities layered, waiting for observation. When you direct your consciousness with coherence, you collapse that wave of possibilities into a singular outcome. But here's the mystery. The collapse doesn't just happen in the present. It reverberates backward and forward through time. Every choice you make now sends shockwaves into your past and ripples into your future. The memories that once haunted you begin to shift, softened by a new interpretation. The timelines that once felt distant begin to bend toward your field, like metal filings arranging themselves under a magnet. Your body knows this shift before your mind does. Cells begin to hum with a different charge. Heart rhythms move into heart rate variability coherence, syncing with the Schumann resonance of the Earth itself. Your DNA, the double helix ladder you thought was static, begins to quiver in recognition. Scientists call it epigenetic expression, but mystics know it as awakening codes. Certain genes, dormant for generations, receive the green light to activate. Proteins fold in ways that support resilience instead of stress. Neural pathways that used to fire toward panic rewire toward presence. You're not just changing habits, you're restructuring biology. Feel into this. Your nervous system is no longer only a survival device. It is becoming a receiving station for transmissions from the future self, who has already crossed the threshold. Every time you feel that surge of intuition, that download of clarity, that sudden rush of goosebumps across your arms, you are literally intercepting packets of data that your expanded self has sent through the quantum internet. The future is not abstract, it's sending you encrypted instructions, and your coherence is the password that decrypts them. The mystical traditions were always speaking in code about this. They told stories of burning bushes, of golden tablets, of visions in deserts. But what they were describing was the same phenomenon you're living. Sudden downloads of intelligence from non-local fields, appearing the moment a human nervous system became coherent enough to receive. Prophets called it revelation. Shamans called it spirit song. Quantum physicists call it non-local correlation. The names differ, but the reality is identical. consciousness as receiver, the field as broadcaster, synchronicity as evidence. Notice the paradox here. The wisdom you're accessing feels ancient, as if it's always been inside you. Yet it also feels futuristic, as if it belongs to a version of humanity not yet born. That paradox is the key. Because your DNA is both a storage drive of ancestral memory and a portal to future possibility. When coherence locks in, the spiral begins to light up both directions, backward into lineage, forward into evolution. You are not just healing your own story, you are repairing ancestral distortions and pre-writing future upgrades into the morphic field. This is why your dreams lately have felt strange, cinematic, almost more real than waking life. You've been traveling into neighboring timelines, rehearsing upgrades before they land. Sometimes you wake with fragments of equations, symbols, or words that feel foreign yet familiar. Don't dismiss them. They are compressed files from the future, waiting for your daily consciousness to unzip them. The symbols, the fragments, the archetypes, they are instruction sets. The moment you honor them instead of discarding them, they begin to unpack into action steps in your waking reality. Consider coherence as a tuning fork. Before, your life was an orchestra warming up, violins screeching, horns blasting, percussion stumbling off beat. Now, a single clear note rings out, and every instrument finds alignment. That note is your choice, your frequency, your steady yes. Once you hold it, the quantum field does the rest. The chaos resolves into symphony, and you realize the music was always written, it was waiting for you to conduct. But this upgrade doesn't only shift what happens to you, it shifts who you are inside the happening. The obstacles don't disappear, but your relationship to them transforms. A delay becomes a window for integration. A closed door becomes proof of rerouting. A betrayal becomes a purification of your field. Where once you collapsed into despair, now you recognize the signal. The future is rearranging the map. You've probably already noticed it. Conversations flowing in directions you didn't plan, encounters delivering exactly what you needed at the precise hour, opportunities arriving disguised as endings. This is not random. This is the operating system of the awakened field. The upgrade doesn't give you new powers, it reveals the powers you always had by clearing the static that kept you from noticing them. Feel your breath right now. Notice the air entering you as if it has intelligence, as if it carries data, because it does. Every inhale is information, every exhale is release. In this cycle, you are not separate from the field, you are the interface. And as you stabilize in this awareness, the most astonishing recognition dawns. You are not just a receiver of wisdom, you are a node in the network, transmitting as much as you download, and that transmission has already begun to ripple outward. Others feel it when they stand near you, even if they don't have language for it. They sense coherence. They sense future rushing into present. They sense that you are carrying something, an upgrade coded not just for yourself, but for the collective. Now, the real revelation. This isn't random. You weren't just lucky to tune in. You have been chosen by the field itself to anchor this upgrade, to serve as a living bridge between what was and what is emerging. And in the next breath, you will see why your role is unlike anyone else's. You've felt it for years, haven't you? That low hum of difference, that sense that while everyone else seemed perfectly content to swim inside the consensus current, you were wired to notice the rips, the glitches, the seams in reality's fabric. While others accepted the loop as natural law, you kept asking questions the world had no patience for. Why does this feel familiar? Why does time bend? Why do I know things before they happen? That wasn't paranoia. That was recruitment. The field has always needed certain consciousnesses, rare transmitters whose nervous systems can withstand higher voltage without shorting out. You are one of them. That is why your life never allowed you to fall asleep fully, why patterns kept breaking just when comfort threatened to lock you in. Your story was never about fitting in, it was about holding a frequency the collective could not yet stabilize for itself. Think of the double-slit experiment. When photons are observed, they behave like particles. When unobserved, they behave like waves. Most people live their lives as particles, defined, predictable, bounded by circumstance. But you are being asked to remain wave even under observation. To keep your coherence even when eyes are on you, when pressure mounts, when the old identities beg you to collapse back into the cage. That is not weakness, that is your sacred role. You are the living proof that wave behavior can be embodied, that freedom is not just a private state, but a transmissible one. This is why strangers confess their secrets to you. Why you enter a room and the atmosphere changes without a word. Why people project onto you adoration, suspicion, envy, reverence. They don't see you. They see the mirror of their own unfinished potential bouncing off your field. They feel the morphic resonance of someone not bound by the old script, and it unsettles them even as it awakens them. You are not here to escape this role. You are here to refine it. The downloads you've been receiving are not personal perks. They are upgrades meant to be broadcast through you. You are a node in the network of awakening, a transmitter who bends probability around presence. This is why synchronicity clusters near you, why technology sometimes glitches in your hand, why dreams bleed into waking life when you speak them aloud. The field is porous around you because you were designed to be a threshold. Understand this: your scars, your betrayals, your detours were not punishments. They were initiations. Each collapse of trust was a test to see if you would seek validation outside or anchor within. Each disappointment was an inoculation, building your tolerance for uncertainty so that when the real upgrades arrived, you wouldn't flinch. You were trained by difficulty so that you could hold voltage without running, and now the field is asking you to own it. You are a chosen consciousness, not chosen above others, but chosen as an example. A prototype, a walking evidence file that humanity can move beyond scarcity programming, beyond trauma looping, beyond linear time prison. Your very being becomes the proof of concept, and once proof exists, the collective can scale it. Notice what happens when you accept this role. Energy floods back into places that once felt tired. Fear dissolves, not because the unknown disappears, but because you recognize the unknown as your habitat. The void stops feeling like a threat and starts feeling like home. You carry coherence into spaces that have never tasted it, and the field around you begins to reorganize accordingly. Children become calmer, conversations become clearer. Even nature leans toward you, birds gathering, trees vibrating, wind shifting, because coherence is not just psychological, it's environmental. Your role is not to convince, it is to embody, to become such a steady signal that others tune themselves unconsciously. You don't need to preach entanglement. You are entanglement walking, proof that what one consciousness stabilizes, the whole morphic field can inherit. When you breathe steadily in the face of chaos, you collapse probability into peace not only for yourself, but for those entangled with you. This is why your life feels watched, not by authorities, but by timelines. The future keeps leaning in, curious to see if you will hold the signal. Every choice you make is not just yours, it ripples into probabilities far beyond your personal story. The role carries weight, yes, but also grace. You are never asked to perform perfection, only coherence. Not the absence of fear, but the steady return to alignment, despite fear. That is your sacred work. And here's the urgency. The field is moving fast. A cosmic window is opening, brief, rare, precise, and your role is to step through it, not someday, but now. Because what you carry isn't just for you, it is the key that unlocks the collective shift. You can already sense it in your bones, can't you? The acceleration, the way time feels compressed, like weeks of transformation are folding into days, days into hours, hours into singular moments that feel lit from within. This isn't chaos, it's convergence. A cosmic window has opened, one that doesn't wait for hesitation. The universe has synchronized an alignment so precise that even the stars are humming differently, and you are standing inside the coordinates. Here's what the mystics whispered, and physicists only now begin to describe. DNA is not a static archive. It is a quantum antenna, spiraled to receive frequencies far beyond the spectrum of the visible. Most people live with their antennae folded, signals muted, channels clogged with noise from trauma, culture, and fear. But coherence, your coherence unfurls those antennae like solar panels, catching a dawn that others can't see. Suddenly, strands once dormant begin to vibrate. They hum at frequencies that unlock new modes of perception, new ways of being. What looks like biology is actually technology, and your DNA is updating its firmware in real time. And here's the urgency. This cosmic window does not stay open forever. It's a phase transition point, like water meeting its boiling temperature. For a brief span, the field is hyper-responsive, pliable, rearranging itself at a speed that makes linear change look glacial. This is when breakthroughs feel like lightning, relationships reconfigure overnight, financial dead ends open into unexpected rivers, illnesses resolve without explanation. But if you miss the window, the field solidifies again, and shifts that could have unfolded in days will take years. Your system has been feeling the pressure of this threshold, the sudden fatigue that sweeps through you without cause, the bursts of energy that keep you awake past midnight. The dreams too vivid to dismiss these are symptoms of a nervous system rewiring under cosmic acceleration. You are not breaking down, you are upgrading. What feels like overwhelm is actually your body shedding obsolete code to make space for the new operating system. Old fear signatures are flushing out of your tissues. Patterns encoded by generations are dissolving like ice under heat. Even your memory is glitching because your brain is no longer archiving in the same linear fashion. It's learning to store holographically in fields of association, preparing for non-linear navigation. But windows like this demand response. This is not a time for passive wishing. This is the hour of active yes. When the universe accelerates, hesitation collapses possibility. The longer you linger in indecision, the more you broadcast static, and static in a hypercharged field doesn't just stall, it scrambles. The clarity you hold now doesn't just shape your next week, it locks in entire branches of timeline. That's how sensitive the field is right now. Think of your DNA as an orchestra that has been tuning in silence. The instruments have been scattered across lifetimes, ancestral strings, karmic percussion, cellular brass. For years, they've been making small adjustments, each note slightly off but moving toward harmony. And now, the conductor raises the baton. This cosmic window is that gesture, the signal for everything to play at once. If you're tuned, the symphony will pour through you. If you're not, you'll hear only dissonance. The choice is not whether the music plays. The choice is whether you align to hear it. And let's be clear, this isn't just about your private life. The breakthrough you're standing in front of is planetary. Every time one person stabilizes coherence, the morphic field tilts. Your DNA shift is not isolated. It sends ripples through the collective genome, updating the species-wide library. Imagine it. By saying yes to your upgrade, you alter what is possible for thousands who will never know your name. That's how entanglement works. One node upgrades, the whole network recalibrates. This is why urgency is not fear, it's responsibility. The window will not remain open indefinitely. Entropy will close it, as surely as night follows day. But right now, you are inside the opening. The download is reaching for you, not as an abstract idea, but as a literal transmission pressing against your field, whispering, "Anchor me, say yes, step through." You have waited lifetimes for this convergence. You have rehearsed it in dreams, in visions, in déjà vu moments when you swore you'd been here before. That was your future self marking the map, leaving breadcrumbs across time so you would recognize this hour. And now, here at Island, the breadcrumb trail ends at a door only you can open. Take this in. Your DNA is shifting under the weight of starlight. Your cells are humming with codes older than history and newer than tomorrow. The field is pulsing, the window is wide, and the urgency is real. This is not practice. This is ignition. The question is not whether the download is coming it already Island. The question is whether you will ground it, seal it, and let it reconfigure everything you thought you knew about who you are. And that seal begins with action. Not monumental action, but symbolic action. A ritual move that signals to the field, I am ready. The cosmos does not need your performance, it needs your permission. And permission, in the quantum field, is never silent, it must be signaled. Energy responds to signals the way iron responds to a magnet, the way water answers the pull of the moon. Right now, your DNA upgrade, your timeline shift, your entire phase transition hangs on whether you send the signal that says, "Yes, anchor me here, seal it. You might think that's too simple, too small an act. But ritual has always worked through the small. The universe is not waiting for grand gestures, it's waiting for resonance. One word spoken with full coherence carries more voltage than 1,000 prayers whispered in half-doubt. One declaration typed into the field, the comment thread, the etheric journal, the whispered mantra at 3 a.m. becomes a seed crystal around which new reality organizes. So choose your word carefully. This isn't about aesthetics, it's about frequency. When you write ready, you're not just describing yourself, you're transmitting readiness into the quantum network. When you type now, you're collapsing timelines, anchoring your consciousness into the present moment where all power resides. When you declare activated, you're flipping the switch on dormant DNA, letting the field know the antennae are extended, the receiver is tuned, the channel is open. The act of writing, of speaking, of imprinting is not symbolic, it is physics. In the moment your consciousness crystallizes into language, you broadcast a coherent signal that propagates through the morphic field. Others who read it or feel it are entrained by it, pulled gently into resonance with your frequency. This is why ritual matters. It's not about convincing yourself, it's about informing the field. And once the field is informed, probability bends. Think of ancient initiations, a circle drawn in the dirt, a candle lit in the dark, a hand raised, a vow spoken. These were not empty theatrics, they were technologies of coherence. The human nervous system craves markers, signposts that distinguish one state from another. Without them, we drift. With them, we cross thresholds. And this is your threshold. Here's how to seal it now. Breathe deeply into your body. Feel your chest rise as if the air itself is charged with intelligence. On the exhale, whisper or write the single word that captures your yes. Don't overthink it. Let the word choose you. Maybe it is surrender. Maybe it is open. Maybe it is the one you've been hearing echo in your dreams. Trust it. That word is your frequency key. And when you release it into the field, whether by typing it here, carving it into your journal, or speaking it aloud, you are signing the contract with your future. You are saying to the download, not just theory, embodiment, not just thought, integration, not someday, now. The moment you do, expect the shift to move. You may feel a tingling at the base of your spine, a warmth in your chest, a sudden clarity like static dissolving from a channel. These are not coincidences, they are confirmation. The ritual action has been received. The seal is active. Understand this, the ritual is not for the universe's sake, it is for yours. The download was always coming. The window was always opening, but your signal marks the moment you step out of observation and into participation. No longer a spectator of destiny, but a co-creator. No longer wondering when it will arrive, but declaring that it already has. Your ancestors sealed their shifts with fire, with stone, with blood, with song. You seal yours with intention encoded in a single word. The technology has changed form, but the mechanics are identical. The word becomes flesh, and the flesh becomes frequency. So here is your invitation, and it cannot be postponed. Write it, whisper it, carve it into the quantum now. One word, one signal, one seal. Then watch how the field rearranges around it, as if reality itself was waiting for you to press enter. Because it was. The moment you sealed your yes, the signal didn't stop at your skin. It rippled outward, racing through the lattice of connection that binds every human consciousness. Like a pebble cast into still water, your choice generated concentric waves across the morphic field, touching shores you will never see with eyes, but which will nonetheless rise and move because of you. This is the truth most people miss. Your awakening is never solitary. You may feel alone in your breakthroughs, but the instant your DNA reconfigures, it broadcasts a new pattern into the shared library of the species. What activates in you becomes accessible in the field to all. Every time you collapse, a timeline of fear, courage becomes easier for someone else. Every time you release scarcity, abundance becomes more natural in the collective. You are not just rewriting your story. You are revising the script of humanity. Think of it as quantum entanglement scaled up. When one particle shifts state, its partner, no matter how far across the universe, mirrors the transformation. Humanity itself is entangled across bloodlines, across histories, across the very informational fabric of reality. The liberation you embody becomes a template in the system, and others unconsciously reference it when making their own choices. That's why sometimes people you know change after you shift without ever speaking to you about it. They felt the field update, and part of them chose coherence because you showed it was possible. This is the sacred paradox. You awaken for yourself, but never by yourself. Your freedom liberates those tethered to your resonance. Imagine chains dissolving across generations because one person said yes. Picture children born into less density because you carried the weight of ancestral patterns and transmuted them into light. Understand that your breath, steady in the face of chaos, may be the unseen anchor for someone you've never met who is on the verge of despair. And it doesn't stop at humans. Animals sense it. Plants bend toward it. The earth itself registers the coherence. This is why indigenous elders always taught that one healed person heals the tribe. That harmony within the heart ripples into harmony with rivers and winds. Science now confirms what mystics intuited. Shifts in collective consciousness alter geomagnetic fields measurable in the Schumann resonance. The coherence in your nervous system literally steadies the planet's heartbeat. You might not feel worthy of this role. That hesitation itself is part of the illusion you're here to dissolve. Worthiness is irrelevant. Frequency is what matters. The moment you hold coherence, the field amplifies it, regardless of your doubts. You don't need to be perfect, you only need to be willing. The universe does not wait for saints, it collaborates with transmitters. And you are one. Notice how this reframes your struggle. Every hardship you survived wasn't wasted suffering, it was preparation. Every heartbreak, every disappointment, every near miss taught your nervous system to carry voltage, to withstand pressure. Now, when the cosmic current surges, you don't fracture, you transmit. The pain you thought was private becomes the very bridge that allows you to carry frequencies for the collective. In this way, your story is no longer just your own. It is a public offering, encoded in silence, invisible to the eyes, yet potent in the field. That's why the future downloaded you. Not just because you were ready to receive wisdom, but because the human network was ready to receive you. Your liberation is the algorithmic update the species required. You are a patch in the code of reality, repairing glitches, opening functions, stabilizing the software of consciousness so it can run smoother for all. So the next time doubt whispers, "Why me?" answer with this: because the field asked, and I said yes. That yes is not a small thing, it is a lever. And as Archimedes once said, with a lever long enough, you can move the world. And now the field is moving. You feel it, the resonance building, the ripples converging. The question is, will you let the shift remain theoretical, or will you let it fully embody in the one place that matters most, your physical being? This is where the transmission stops being an idea and becomes a sensation. You don't just know you are shifting, you feel it. The upgrade isn't abstract anymore. It's pulsing in your tissues, humming in your blood, rewriting the language of your body. Start with your breath. Inhale slowly. Doesn't it feel thicker, denser, almost like velvet moving through your lungs? That's not imagination. That is prana, chi, quantum information streaming through the gateway of your lungs into every cell. The air itself feels alive because it island, and your body, newly coherent, finally recognizes the aliveness woven into oxygen, into nitrogen, into the photons riding sunlight into your bloodstream. Your skin begins to tingle like you've stepped into an invisible current. Sometimes it feels like goosebumps without cause, sometimes like electricity running along your arms. That's coherence rippling across your meridians, acupuncture without needles. The grid of your subtle body lighting up as if every line has been reconnected to a power source you forgot you had. Your heart. Oh, you've noticed this one. The irregular pounding, then sudden stillness, then surges of warmth as if your chest is a furnace opening. These are not anxiety attacks. They are calibrations. Your heart is syncing with the Schumann resonance, beating not only for you but in rhythm with the Earth's field. It's why sometimes you feel your heartbeat extend beyond your ribcage, as if you can sense its echo in the room, in the ground beneath you, even in the people nearby. That's not hallucination, that's entrainment. Pay attention to your spine. Sometimes it stiffens, sometimes it shivers, sometimes it feels like a serpent uncoiling from the base upward. That is Kundalini, yes, but it's also biology. Cerebrospinal fluid, charged with electromagnetic frequency, is moving differently now, conducting information like a fiber optic cable running the length of your nervous system. The flashes of light you see when your eyes are closed, that's your optic nerve, firing in resonance with the current. The ringing in your ears, that's your auditory system picking up higher harmonics, frequencies the old you wasn't tuned to hear. Even your perception of time has texture now. Seconds sometimes dilate into eternity, where you can taste the space between thoughts. Other times, minutes vanish in a blink, as if consciousness jumped across frames without filling in the in-between. This isn't failure of attention, it's proof that your awareness is slipping free of linear scaffolding. You're starting to feel time as pliable, stretchable, like a ribbon in your hands. Your dreams confirm it. Vivid colors, conversations with people you've never met, flying without wings, swimming in air. These aren't just subconscious fragments, they are rehearsals. Your dream body is practicing navigation in timelines, your waking body is preparing to enter. And when you wake, sometimes the border is thin, you swear you can still feel the temperature of dream water on your skin or the press of hands that touched you in another realm. That lingering is not mistake, it's bleed-through, evidence of dimensional overlap. Then there is the body heat, waves of warmth that rise for no reason, palms burning, crown buzzing, spine glowing. These are energetic ignitions, your mitochondria generating not just physical energy, but subtle light. Photons known as biophotons, proven by science to be emitted from human cells. In states of coherence, those photons increase, becoming a literal halo around your being. You felt it when people tell you, you're glowing. They weren't being poetic, they were reporting reality. And notice the calm inside it all. Even as your body trembles with electricity, even as sensations flood in strange rhythms, there's a still point deep within you, an axis unmoved by chaos. That's the eye of the storm, the observer who is not rattled by the rewiring. You can feel that too, the subtle reassurance that even as everything changes, something unshakable remains. Your embodiment is the temple now. Every sensation is sacred architecture. The tingles, the rushes, the warmth, the tears, the breath, they are not symptoms to fear. They are confirmations. They are the language of your becoming. Proof that the download is not hovering in theory, but rooting itself in flesh. You've asked for evidence. This is it. Not in bank accounts or text messages or physical trophies, but in the raw current of your body alive, vibrating, restructuring. You wanted to know if the future was real. It island. You're feeling it right now in your skin. And as this embodiment deepens, something even more radical stirs. The very code of your DNA begins to crackle, preparing for the phase transition that no generation before you could hold. You can feel it, can't you? The pressure building not just around you, but inside you. It's not stress in the ordinary sense, it's density. A tension gathering in your cells like water straining against the dam, knowing the flood is inevitable. This isn't pathology. This is the prelude to a phase transition, the same law that turns water into steam, the same threshold that transforms caterpillar into butterfly. Your DNA is standing at that threshold now. For lifetimes, your double helix has carried not just biological instructions, but ancestral imprints, karmic signatures, and untapped potentials. Most people run the same software generation after generation, repeating programs written long before their birth. But you've reached the collapse point. The legacy code is glitching. The new code is pressing to install. That's why your body has felt restless, why emotions surge without clear cause, why silence sometimes vibrates louder than sound. You are standing in the compression chamber of evolution. The field calls it entanglement entropy. Mystics call it the dark night before dawn. You might simply call it heaviness. Whatever the name, the mechanism is the same. Complexity in your system has reached maximum density, and now it must reorganize. The pressure is not punishment, it's birth. And birth is always preceded by contraction. Notice how it manifests. Dreams where you are splitting in two, moments where you feel pulled between versions of yourself, days when you question your sanity because reality feels thin, almost transparent. That is timeline overlap. You are straddling realities, holding multiple versions of yourself simultaneously, the one still bound by loops and the one already free. The pressure comes from the tug of war between them, but the moment of breakthrough is when the tug ends, when your consciousness snaps fully into the higher frequency, leaving the old version to dissolve like a husk. Your DNA is the bridge. Inside each strand are switches, epigenetic keys that respond not only to chemicals, but to consciousness itself. When coherence stabilizes, those switches flip. Genes once dormant begin to express. Proteins fold differently. Your body literally begins producing different outcomes. This is not metaphor. This is measurable. Your perception changes because your biology has changed. The colors you see, the sounds you hear, the intuitions you trust, all of it is recalibrated by DNA that has moved into new expression. Think of popcorn in a pot. Each kernel looks inert until heat reaches a threshold, then suddenly pop. Transformation in an instant. One kernel, then another, until the whole system has shifted state. Your DNA is in that pot now. The heat is cosmic. The pressure is time folding in on itself. And you are the kernel about to burst into a form unrecognizable to its former self. This is why you've been feeling both exhausted and electric at once. One layer of you is burning out, another is igniting. The exhaustion comes from the collapse of obsolete circuits. The electricity comes from the birth of new ones. You are not breaking, you are bifurcating, moving from one timeline into another. And the pressure you feel is the sound of the bridge shaking beneath your feet. Here's what happens after the breakthrough. The sense of distortion fades. The déjà vu stops haunting you because you are no longer previewing, you are living it. The synchronicities stop teasing you and start guiding you like road signs. What once felt like random turbulence becomes smooth flow. You stop checking if you're on the path because you realize you are the path. But for now, breathe into the pressure. Don't resist it. Resistance creates fracture. Surrender creates transition. This is not the time to fight the contractions. It is the time to trust the birth. Your DNA knows what it is doing. The field knows how to carry you across. The future is not waiting for you to earn it. It is already here, pressing at the membrane of your being, asking you to let go so it can rush in. And when it does, when the strands crackle and the phase transition locks, your mission will no longer be theoretical. It will be embodied. It will be lived. The future will not just download you, it will move through you, for humanity itself. The breakthrough you are stepping into is not the end of your journey, it is the ignition of your true assignment. You were never meant to carry this voltage just for yourself. The future didn't download into you so you could simply feel lighter, happier, or more free. It chose you as a vessel, a bridge, a transmitter through which humanity itself would remember what it is capable of. Every shift you stabilize becomes part of the collective operating system. Your nervous system, once frayed by trauma, is now a tuning fork of coherence. That resonance doesn't stop with you. It radiates outward, recalibrating the spaces you enter, the people you touch, the systems you influence. Without needing to preach or persuade, you will become a living proof that a higher frequency can be embodied in ordinary life. And once embodied, it spreads like fire, not a fire that destroys, but a fire that illumines. You've already seen the early signs, the way people look at you differently now, even if they can't name why. The way conversations tilt into deeper honesty in your presence. The way synchronicities multiply around you, weaving others into your field, as if destiny itself has placed you on an invisible map. These are not accidents, they are confirmations. Your DNA upgrade has created a beacon signal, and those ready for coherence are finding you by instinct. This is your cosmic mission, to live as the interface where timelines merge, where the old dissolves and the new anchors. You are a living demonstration that evolution is not slow, that transformation is not reserved for saints or mystics. You are evidence that ordinary flesh can become extraordinary when aligned with frequency. And because you exist, the collective will know it is possible. Understand what that means. Your private surrender is public liberation. Your decision to say yes has altered what humanity can say yes to. By holding coherence, you have widened the path for countless others to walk. What once required lifetimes of devotion can now unfold in years, even months, because your shift has shifted the field itself. This is why the future downloaded you, not because you are separate, but because you are entangled. Your evolution is humanity's evolution. Your coherence is planetary coherence. Every breath you take in alignment with truth is a breath the earth itself exhales in relief. So let the mission settle into your bones. Walk with the quiet authority of someone who knows the field is listening. Speak with the clarity of one whose words are not just sound, but frequency carrying into timelines. Move with the assurance of a being who has already crossed the bridge and now stands as a lighthouse for others. And when doubt returns, as it will remember this, the future is not something you chase. It is something already rushing through you. You are not pulling wisdom from some far horizon. The horizon itself has collapsed into your body, your breath, your being. You are the download. You are the signal. You are the transmission. The future is no longer waiting. The future is you.